Welcome into the Stack Shack Sports Show. Today, we're going to talk about this past weekend's football games, and boy, did we have two great games. Really, honestly, two close games, 3 points and 7 points. It never felt like really either team was completely out of it unless you count the Niners in the first half. Wow, I have never seen a 17-point lead disappear like it did for the Detroit Lions. This third quarter, they were down. San Francisco, at half, was down 24-7. They scored 17 unanswered in the third. That is incredible. And this brings us back to these tiers. Do I need to move Brock Purdy up one? I'm going to wait for the Super Bowl. Okay? But he had one hell of a second half. Look at those numbers. Look at how many yards per completion he had. Pretty impressive. Very efficient. Goff did not have a bad day. He didn't. But this, wow. Very impressed with San Francisco. The whole narrative, coming into this playoffs is Shanahan had never come back from, I think, over 4 in the fourth quarter. Well, in the second half, he came down 17, and they get the win. Huge win for San Francisco. Goodness gracious, if I was a Niners fan, that had to have been a hell of a roller coaster. I know Dr. Disrespect, he's a popular streamer on Twitch and YouTube, formerly Twitch, now on YouTube. Go look at his feed. He posted 3 videos, one pregame, one at halftime, and one after the game. Oh my goodness. It's the greatest roller coaster. Just, that's how it is as a fan, sometimes. And a lot is going to be made in this game of Dan Campbell's decision to go for it twice on 4th down in field goal range. The analytics guys, they love to say, go for it. The analytics say to go for it. Here's my problem with analytics, okay? And this is coming as someone whose day job is a software engineer, specifically in the back end where I deal with data and analytics all day long. This is my area of expertise. The thing with analytics is you look at the outcome, right? Okay, going for it there. Over the long term. That's how analytics work. They take large pieces of data. They compile them. They look at them and go, hey, if you do this 100 times, more than 50% of the time, it's the right decision, right? More than 50 times, it's the right call. Now, maybe, I don't know. I didn't see the exact percent that works out from these analytics for those 2 plays specifically. And maybe they're putting a little higher filter. But even if that filter is 75%, okay, 80% of the time it's the better decision. Detroit has a pretty good record on 4th down. Let's call it 90%. What people fail to forget is this is over large numbers of data sets. Large numbers of 4th down attempts. They're saying, hey, if you attempt it on 4th down 1,000 times, you should go for it because over the course of those 1,000 times, it'll work out in your favor. Well, the problem here, in football especially, you don't get 1,000 4th down attempts. So it's difficult to see the return on that expected value. It takes many, many attempts to make that happen. When you're in the playoffs, you get one game. You lose this game, you're done. I think people need to just wrap their minds around analytics saying go for it. Well, what's the flip side of that analytic? Right? So with that in mind, analytics, we want to not only just look at what happens in the positive, like, oh, over the course of 1,000 attempts, we'd score more points. Let's look at the negative situation. And the thing to keep in mind is, remember, this is a one and done. You don't get 1,000 playoff games to find out, to realize your expected value. You got one. You may not be back in this situation. Okay? You got one. So let's look at the 2 4th down go for it calls. The first one. I will tell you right now, I'm okay with the first one. Okay? You're up by 2 scores. If you kick the field goal, you'll go up by 3. To me, let's look at it. Okay, if you get it in that situation, there's a very good chance you're going up by 3 scores and some change, right? instead of just exactly 3. Now you're going up by another touchdown instead of another 3 points. Okay? That is a significant benefit. And the analytics are saying, hey, over the course, long time, you're going to score more points doing this because touchdowns are worth more than field goals, right? The negative is you give the ball to San Francisco, who is still down 2 scores. Okay? And you can trust your defense. You're hoping you can. They kind of shut them out in the first half, only gave up 7 points. So you're feeling probably okay in that moment. I'm fine with that because what's the negative? The negative is, well, I'm still up by 2 scores. Yeah, I gave them okay field position, but if I kick the field goal, I'm going up by another 3 points. I'm going up by 3 scores. Then I'm going to kick it off. They're going to be about the same position. You know, yes, 3 points is 3 points. We all agree, but I think in that moment, I agree. The negative, you're still up by 2 scores. The second one is the really bad one, to me. Because that was an opportunity to tie the game. Let me say that again. That was an opportunity for Detroit to tie the game. Tie the game. What? After blowing the whole 17-point lead, now you're down. You have an opportunity to tie the game with a field goal. Now, what is the consequence if you don't get it? Okay, so the consequence if you get it, you're going to go up by 4 points if you get the extra point, right? You're going to go up by more than a field goal. Okay, that's a good benefit. I like being up by more than a field goal. What happens if you don't get it? You are now down by 3, giving the ball back to San Francisco, who in the second half is absolutely destroying you, and just erased a 17-point deficit, then kicked another field goal to take the lead. And you're now going to be down by 3 to them, giving them the ball back. They're probably going to score a touchdown. Oh, look, they did. Eating the clock. It's in the fourth quarter. That is a terrible decision. The consequence is too severe, especially when kicking the field goal ties the game. You're in the fourth quarter. You don't have time. You don't have enough plays for the analytics to play out in your favor. Take the known quantity. That second decision is the bad decision. The first one, I can live with. It's in the third quarter. You still got a lot of football to play. Scoring a touchdown in that moment could really put the hammer down on San Francisco. They're just starting to feel like they have some life. Score a touchdown on them. It's pretty great. There are arguments towards kicking the field goal there too, but I think the consequence in that, okay, so I kick the field goal and I go up by 3 scores barely. You know, I score a touchdown, I go by 3 scores and some change. You know, it's like 3 touchdowns instead of a couple of field goals. Or I'm still up 2 scores. I think I'm okay with still being up 2 scores. Go for it. Try it out. The fourth quarter one, you could tie the game. Tie the game. You don't have much time left. We're halfway through the fourth quarter. What are you doing? That's the problem. You gotta kick that second one. You gotta tie the game. Put some pressure on San Francisco. Put some pressure on Brock Purdy. And if he does that, this is a tie game. Jared Goff's throwing this touchdown pass to Jamison Williams to tie the game instead of needing an onside kick after that. I loved this Lions team. They're a great story. Love the turnaround. Hope to see them back. But that was a really bad decision. So enough about the Lions. Let's talk about San Francisco. Wow. Brock Purdy. If he wins a Super Bowl, we're moving him. I'm not moving him yet because I haven't forgotten about last week, okay? I haven't forgotten about last week where little rain and he looked pretty bad, okay? One game, I'm not going to elevate him into the elite category, right? He has one good second half. He looked pretty bad in the first half. He has one good second half, had more turnovers than Jared Goff, and won the game. To me, he's still in the good category, right? He's down there with Tua, right? Tua had a great season. It was a little cold in Kansas City. Well, not just a little. My cousin went to the game. He was freezing. It was really cold. Tua sucked. Okay? Brock Purdy, a little rain. Really struggled last week. This week, no rain. Looked pretty good. So I think he's still in the good category. But if he wins a Super Bowl, he's going to have to go to the good with upside. Because I think he's the definition of good with upside. Right? He's good. And if you put him in the right situation, I think he can win a Super Bowl. Right? That's how I defined good with upside. Jalen Hurts with the right offensive coordinator, really good offensive line, some good weapons, made it to a Super Bowl, had a chance there. Jared Goff had a chance at the Super Bowl in LA, and once again was pretty close to making it to another Super Bowl. So Jared Goff, good with upside. Brock Purdy is going to go into that category if he wins the Super Bowl, because I think he just has to. But not moving him yet. I didn't forget about last week. But what we do need to have the conversation of is, why does everybody bash on Brock Purdy? Why? Why does Tua get praised? And then, it was really cold. Now, he did get ripped for that one. But to me, we kind of bash on Brock Purdy as if he's not very good. Let's be honest here. We say, anybody with San Francisco's weapons and Kyle Shanahan, they'd all win a lot of games. Trey Lance didn't. Jimmy won games, but Brock Purdy looks better, especially in these later years, right? Brock Purdy, this is only his first year starting the whole season. Jimmy, last year, before Brock Purdy came in because he got hurt, Jimmy and Trey Lance weren't putting up Brock Purdy numbers. Did you see him running around? I think he had the same rushing yards or very close to it as Lamar. He used his feet. Why are we saying he's unathletic? He's pretty athletic. He can move. He moves better than Jared does. Does he have as big an arm? Does he throw as good a ball? Maybe not. But he's stupid accurate. 20 for 31 versus 25 for 41, right? More accurate, and he moves better. He's not a bum. I know he was taken last in the draft, but it's really weird. We rip Brock Purdy all the time as like, he's not very good. Why are we not celebrating this? This is a dude who was taken last in the draft. We love late round draft picks. Look at how everybody falls in love with Brady. It's like, whoa, this late round draft pick. We talk about the Brady 6, all the quarterbacks taken before Tom Brady. Where are they now, right? Russell Wilson, he's a 4th round draft pick and he's winning Super Bowls. Now, Brock hasn't won a Super Bowl yet, right? But if he does, we really need to start elevating him, okay? Like, let's stop with this, he's not talented. He was overlooked. We can talk about that. We can joke about all the quarterbacks taken ahead of him. But he's talented. Russell Wilson, with all of those weapons and that incredible defense, wins Super Bowls. He gets credit for it. He gets praise for it. Brock, I feel like, just gets slammed all the time. Like, anyway, I could go out there and put up points with that offense. Well, go ask Trey Lance and Jimmy G what they think. Because, yes, Jimmy made it to a Super Bowl, but that was a couple years, right? Before Brock Purdy has now come on the scene. And Purdy's putting up better numbers. And I would argue that Brock doesn't have quite as good a defense. He has a better offense. Christian McCaffrey is an obviously great addition, right? But Jimmy had all of them except Christian. Trey Lance had opportunities, and they went with Brock Purdy. That means something. It does. It means something. So, no, I'm not going to say he's elite. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Josh Allen. But if he wins a Super Bowl, we're going to have to put him up a tier. Because he's the definition of good with upside. His contract, super cheap. Load up around him. It's the early Seattle situation with Russ. Load up with talent around him. And you can win a Super Bowl. Keep Jared Goff super comfy. Give him a good defense. He could win a Super Bowl. Not saying Brock Purdy is doing something that no other quarterback could do. But I am saying that you put him with the right team, he's now making it to a Super Bowl. He hasn't lost a playoff game. He's started and completed. He's coming back. That was the thing. Oh, well, they can only play from a lead. Apparently not, because last 2 weeks he came back and won. You gotta give him his flowers. He's a pretty darn good quarterback. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. Brock Purdy? He's going to be the definition of good with upside if he wins a Super Bowl. If he doesn't, I think I am still happy with him down here because, you know, Tua, Brock, little rain comes out and Brock's all over the place. Now, is he maybe one of the better quarterbacks in this category? Sure, we can have a debate, but this wasn't in order. This was just lumping some quarterbacks together. I still think you give Jared Goff the weapons, you know, the roles are reversed. I think Jared Goff could win that game. I think Justin Herbert could win that game. Jalen Hurts could win that game. Matt Stafford could win that game. C.J. Stroud, I think, can win that game. But we can't keep going, oh, Brock Purdy's a bum. No, he's not. He's a pretty darn good quarterback who is athletic. He can extend plays with his legs. He is very accurate. He has a strong enough arm. Does he have Josh Allen's arm? No. Does he make the wild extra plays that Patrick Mahomes does? No, not quite. But he's a pretty darn good quarterback. Okay? Stop saying he's not. He's good. Lamar's probably going to get the MVP. I think McCaffrey should. We're going most valuable. But Brock Purdy's in that conversation. He's good. He's very good. And he plays within the system he needs to. Good for San Francisco. They get a win. Devastated for Detroit. I'm so sorry, Detroit fans. Like, you had this. You felt like the better team. Especially early on. You're blowing them out. Like, I was like, whoa, time to turn the TV off. I mean, I would never do that because I love football, but it was kind of, oh, all right, well, we'll just watch the rest of this game. And then you blinked, and oh my goodness, here comes San Francisco. The second fourth down decision, that was the dumb one. The first one, I can live with. They've been aggressive all year. That's their style. Trying to really, you know, hone into their identity, right? Something I criticized Baltimore for not doing. You're the best running team in the NFL, and you ran the ball 6 times. What are you doing? Detroit, they're like, hey, we've been aggressive all year. We go for it. That's what we do. Let's go for it. But the second one, that's the bad one. You have a chance to tie the game. Put some pressure on San Francisco to have to score again. Instead, it's like San Francisco's sitting there going, oh, well, we just have to run as much clock out as possible. If we score, that's great, but let's just give them no time. Let's let our defense really start moving Jared Goff off his spot, which happened in the second half. They got some pressure on Goff because they were catching up. So the second one's the bad one. Get over the first. Hopefully Detroit is back. Great story this year. We got a San Francisco, Kansas City Super Bowl. Who am I rooting for? I don't know. I've never been a San Francisco fan. Mahomes is kind of annoying me this year. I'm very excited for the game. I wanted Detroit to win this one. But, man, we're going to have a pretty fun game. Now, we have seen this before. Mahomes versus San Francisco, right? The difference in that one was Jimmy G didn't quite make it happen. Can Brock Purdy make it happen, right? San Francisco, much better roster than Kansas City, most would agree. That's what they had last time. That's what Philadelphia kind of had. It's interesting now. This is the third Super Bowl with Mahomes where it's like Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo versus the best roster in football. Who's going to come out on top? I think it's going to be very close. I'm not making any decisions now. The game's still a couple weeks away. I got time to think about it. Let me think about it. It's about a pick 'em right now on the sports books. That feels like about right to me. Let me think about it. It's hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know. I kind of believe in Purdy, and they've now shown they can come from behind, something they hadn't done previously. So we'll see. Let me know down in the comments what you're most excited for in the coming up Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. What was your big takeaways from these games? Do you agree with me? The second fourth down was the real problem. The first one is okay. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and we'll see you tomorrow.